Kia ora, and the headlines. Justice Minister Judith Collins says it's now up to the police and Crown Law to decide if Chris Kahui should be retried over his son's deaths. Coroner Gary Evans has ruled that twins Chris and Crew suffered their fatal injuries while in their father's sole care. Ms. Collins says authorities will closely examine the coroner's report.
They'd have to consider whether or not the evidence that's now come out in the coroner's report would be sufficient to enable a retrial.
The High Hazards Unit has shut down development areas at Solid Energy's Spring Creek mine following a serious accident. A miner was hit by falling coal, and inspectors believe the accident had the potential to be fatal. They have issued a prohibition notice pending assessment. A dozen officers are investigating a brawl in Christchurch that landed 4 people in hospital. A man in his 30s has been charged over the sprayed-in fight and appeared in court this morning. Police believe up to 8 people and weapons were involved in that accident. Zimbabwe's Prime Minister Morgan Tsvangirai has met with political and business leaders in Wellington today to encourage investment in his shattered country. He says Zimbabwe is now open for business and has asked John Key to consider lifting sanctions. Mr. Tsvangirai says the country wants to look to the future and he doesn't want retribution for controversial leader Robert Mugabe.
We need stability, and there may be no need to go into a revenge agenda or try to go back and say we have to penalize you for what you did and all that. I think it will not be helpful for the country.
Ka whakahoa te paipere tapu Maori. E rua ngā mahinui kai mua I te aroaro. Ka tahi, ka uru atu ngā tohu ho, whera I te tohu tō, ngā tohu kōrero, ngā whiti, ngā whakaupoko, me ngā mapi. Ka rua ka tuhia te he paipera tahu Maori ho, e hangai ana ki te wane. Ka rawe. Over in London, taxi drivers are protesting their exclusion from lanes reserved for Olympic athletes and officials. They're demanding the right to use the lanes as the restrictions obstruct their access to curbs. It's the second protest since last Tuesday, and further demonstrations are planned. A Philippines court has granted bail to ex-President Gloria Arroyo. It says the charge of vote fraud, for which she has 8 months detention, is weak. In Beijing, casualty numbers are still being tallied from the weekend's floods. An earlier report said 37 people were killed following the heaviest rain in 60 years. To the U.S., a group of Democrat lawmakers is pushing to ban assault weapons and high-capacity gun magazines in the wake of Colorado's shooting massacre. But it's reported congressional leaders aren't willing to touch the volatile issue. Well, those are the headlines from the RBG News Center. Maori ora.